Welcome back, everyone. My name is Steele, and I'm glad to present to you my own creation. Please like, share, and subscribe. It would help a small writer keep her dream alive. I want to give a thank you to my Shay, who always lights my way. Thank you. It's looking like Anarchy by Steele. Chapter 9. Recruitments. The camera feed crackled softly above me as I stared at the two men. The tall one with thinning blonde hair leaned against a truck like he had all the time in the world. His companion, period. Bulkier, shoulders like a refrigerator. Paced slowly near the entrance, glancing towards the road every so often. They weren't nervous. They weren't rushing. Why wait? My mind went back to the man's voice through the bathroom door. Calm, almost kindly, but off. A church, he'd said. A place of refuge. Something about the way he said it scratched at the base of my skull. Not comforting, cultish, hollow. Why offer sanctuary to a stranger in a collapsing world, and then post up with backup outside? My gut twisted. Whatever this was, it wasn't salvation. It felt like recruitment. Or worse. I stepped back from the screen and scanned the room one more time. Then I eased open the other metal door outside the break room. I screeched. I winced, heart leaping, but nothing stirred, just cold, November air, and the skeletal crunch of dried leaves. I stepped out onto cracked concrete, immediately swallowed by silence. Trees swayed at the edge of the overgrown lot, leaves scattered across the back drive. Every step I took sounded like I was walking on broken glass. Snap, crunch, snap. I cursed under my breath, trying to move lighter, but it was no use. I was already halfway to the woods when I heard the voice.
You don't have to run.
I froze. Don't stop unless you have to. My mother's voice rang faintly in my head. The tall, stringy-haired man stood just beyond the edge of the building, between me and the tree line. His eyes held that same off-putting softness, like a taxidermy smile that never quite reached the eyes.
We just want to help.
He said, taking a step forward. Please, I said firmly, keeping my hands where he could see them. I'd like to be left alone. I don't want trouble. I just want to leave.
You're not safe out here.
He said, with that awful calmness.
People out here will hurt you.
I think I'll take my chances. Then I heard him. The second one. How could I forget it? His boots pounding behind me. I spun just in time, but not enough. He grabbed me, lifted me off my feet like a rag doll. We hit the ground, hard. Duffel bag flying as the air slammed out of my lungs. Yelling, "Get off me!" My fists thudded against his chest, uselessly. His knee pinned my thigh down. His forearm crushed my sternum. Every breath was becoming a fight. The tall man crouched low to the ground, brushing hair from my face with mock gentleness.
Don't make this harder than it needs to be.
What the fuck does that even mean? I thrashed. My hand found the knife in my pocket. My fingers locked around it. I plunged it upward with everything I had. He screamed, a real scream this time, raw and wounded. I kicked and scrambled, blood on my hands, and got free. The knife was gone, still lodged in him, or dropped somewhere in the scuffle. Adrenaline blurred the edges of my vision. My fingers fumbled for the strap around my ankle, heart hammering as I pulled the Taurus free, cocking and racing it. Before he could close the distance and before I could change my mind, I squeezed the trigger. The shot echoed sharp and brutal in the cold morning air. The ring hung heavy in the air, but my mind felt numb, shock flooding every inch of me. My breathing was ragged, heart pounding so loud I was sure they could hear it. The tall man collapsed onto the cracked concrete, groaning, clutching his bleeding shoulder. My eyes darted immediately to the bigger man, on his feet, stumbling toward us. "No," I whispered to myself. Panic rising, I knelt beside the fallen man, fumbling with shaking fingers over his belt and pockets, desperate for the keys. Cold metal slipped under my fingertips. The bigger man was closer now, yelling curses, one hand reaching for something at his waist as he holds his midsection. My pulse spiked. Come on," I muttered. I yanked the keys free, just as the bulky man lunged at me. We crashed hard onto the cracked asphalt, his weight pinning my legs down. My gun stayed clenched in my hand. I pressed the cold metal against his temple. "Back off!" I hissed, my voice tight with panic and determination. "I'll choose me every time." His eyes widened, something akin to fear flooding his face. He hesitated, loosening his grip for me to kick him off. I scrambled up, my fingers fumbling, not just for the keys dropped, but instinctively grabbing the handle of my rolling duffel, forgotten in the scuffle. I yanked it closer as I pressed the button on the faded key fob. The truck unlocked as the lights cut through the cold, early morning haze. I didn't wait. I ran, diving into the worn driver's seat, slamming the door and locking it tight. My heart pounded like a drum as the engine rumbled beneath me. I gripped the wheel, trying to steady my breath. I was alive, but I knew this wasn't over. Blood on my palms. Not mine. My body was moving, shifting gears and turning the wheel, but my brain lagged behind. Still back on the concrete, still hearing him scream, still feeling the weight on my chest. The knife is in my hand. Still not sure if this was the end or the beginning of something worse. I stared out the windshield, knuckles white, and whispered, "I just have to get a little closer." I pulled onto the shoulder, gravel crunching beneath the tires, and opened my cracked phone. 8:16 a.m. The screen flickered for a second before stabilizing. Brightness turned low to conserve what little battery I had left. I tapped open the map app and typed in the destination with shaking hands. Mount Gilead, North Carolina. The little red pin dropped 3 hours southeast. 3 hours. It might as well have said 30. I didn't know if the truck would make it, if I would, but I had to try. I tapped Start Route. The GPS chirped, too cheerful.
In 400 feet, turn right onto State Highway 58.
I guided the truck off the shoulder, tires gripping the cracked pavement, and rolled onto the highway. The landscape unspooled around me. Skeletal trees, fast food signs leaning like tired drunks, abandoned rest stops with wind-rattled doors. The smell of stale dip mud and old sweat, seemed embedded in the worn cloth of the truck's interior. I reached for the radio knob. Static crackled at first, then a country twang cut in mid-sentence.
Ain't just about surviving, it's about reclaiming the soul of the land. You know, recreation, stewardship, God's design for community.
I blinked. Recreation? The voice was calm, but unnerving, like it didn't belong to this moment or this world. I turned the dial. Another channel. A woman's voice came through, robotic, looping every few seconds.
This is a message from the United States Emergency Alert System. Please remain calm. Avoid metropolitan areas. Shelter in place or relocate to certified government shelters. Do not engage armed groups. Repeat.
I changed the station. It was still her. Looping. Repeating.
Do not engage armed groups. Repeat.
I clicked the radio off. Silence rushed in like a vacuum. Then my stomach growled. I was hungry, like bone-deep hungry. No room left for adrenaline. Just the raw need to eat. I pulled a water from my bag and opened it. The glove compartment catching my eye, I rummaged around. Fingers found an empty nicotine patch box, peppermints melted slightly in the wrapper. Behind it, a folded paper pamphlet. I unfolded it. A beat-up church bulletin. Faded ink, torn edges. A smiling Jesus with a red Sharpie X scratched over his face. I stuffed it back in the glove box, slamming it closed. 3 hours. I'd eat while driving. I couldn't stop. Not yet. Chapter 10. Try again. The truck hummed beneath me, the tires swallowing pavement with every mile. But inside I felt motionless, suspended between the world I knew and the one I was in now. This wasn't America. Not the one I grew up in. Not the one with community cookouts and Sunday services and vote like your life depends on it yard signs. That place was gone, sucked into the static of a broken emergency alert, and buried beneath the dirt where strangers wait with knives and illusions. Now the rules had changed. Smiles could be bait. Churches were traps. Gas stations weren't just stops. They were battlefields. And me. I'd changed too. I used to be the girl who kept pepper spray on her keychain and never forgot to lock her car. Cautious, smart, but today, I slid a knife into a man's ribs and shot another. This was the cost of survival. The blood on my cargo pants had dried, but I could still feel it sticking to me like shame. And yet, there was no room for regret. Not anymore. This world didn't care who you used to be. It demanded decisions. Fast, brutal, final, and I couldn't afford to freeze. Couldn't hope someone would come. That kind of thinking would get me killed. So, I drove, clutching the wheel like it was the last solid thing I had. Maybe it was. Everything else, law, safety, truth, was slipping through the cracks. Whatever was waiting for me in Mount Gilead. I just hoped it still made sense. I needed something to make sense. I was about an hour and a half from Mount Gilead when the first tire blew. A sharp pop, like a gunshot in the quiet morning air. The truck jolted, wobbling hard. I fought the wheel, heart pounding. Then another pop, front right this time, and I swerved off the road, coming to a rough stop on the cracked shoulder. Silence stretched out, heavy and wrong. I climbed out, eye scanning the pavement. Every tire was shredded. shredded beyond hope. Embedded in the asphalt just around the bend, I saw it. An improvised nail strip, crudely laid and half hidden beneath broken branches. No, I whispered. The forest edge rustled. Then they stepped out, 3 men, wild-eyed and fast, blocking the road like wolves circling prey. Panic gripped my throat. I turned and ran, into the trees, branches slapping my face, underbrush clawing at my legs. I didn't look back. I just ran. But footsteps thundered behind me. Closer. Closer. Something snagged my jacket. I swiped hard behind me. Hands. Grabbing, rough and relentless. I screamed loud and feral, kicked, clawed. A fist crashed into my side. Another yanked my hair. I was dragged backward, my boots scraping the dirt, hands grasping at anything to hold on to. Back to the road. Back to the open. I thrashed, twisted, and sank my elbow into someone's chest. He howled. But then came the blow, sharp and final, striking the side of my head. The world tilted, spun. Then nothing. Just the cracked sky above me, trees flickering like static. And then, pain and darkness. I came to slowly, consciousness leaking in like water through a crack. Everything ached. My head throbbed. My mouth was dry. My hands, empty. My body feels so heavy and tired. I was lying on cold concrete. A single flickering bulb above me buzzed like an angry wasp. The room smelled like mildew, BO and fear. I sat up too fast. The world tilted, and I pressed a hand to the side of my head. My backpack, my duffel, my gun. Gone. Panic surged, but before I could move again, a voice spoke.
She's awake.
I turned. The room was full, 8 or 9 others, slumped against the walls or huddled together. All of them looked wrecked. Dirty, pale, hollow-eyed. A woman looking in her early 30s offered me a plastic cup of water. Her hands trembled as she held it out.
They took everything.
She said quietly.
Whatever you had, it's gone.
I didn't take the water. I just stared. What is this? I croaked. A man across the room snorted.
Your lucky day.
He said bitterly.
They only beat you unconscious. They killed the guy I was with.
They used spikes to trap my truck, said another older man. Came out of the woods like ghosts. Took my gear and stripped the car. Left me with nothing. The woman nodded slowly.
Same. I was driving south, stopped to pee, and the next thing I knew, I was on the ground.
They don't want to kill us, someone else muttered. Not yet. They're collecting. My skin went cold. Collecting? I whispered. For what? I asked. Where are we? No one answered. Maybe they didn't know either. Just the sound of that buzzing light. No more talking. Just the distant sound of orders yelled and constant footsteps. Were they getting closer or further away? Thank you for listening to chapters 9 and 10. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Respectfully, let me know what you think. See you later.